What is the most memorable NSW thing that happened in high school? 2 sophomores got suspended for recording themselves having sex in the distance learning classroom. Some online classes required video cameras for lectures. They used that and recorded a sex tape. Distance learning sounds like a regular class, but the board is really far away. Some guy was caught masturbating in the girls' bathroom. Imagine our surprise when another was caught soon after. After that, they had a teacher stand outside the bathroom during lunch and had it locked during class so they'd need to go the staff room instead. Felt bad for the girls. My math teacher told us if we all got A's and B's on our test, he'd dye his hair green and rollerblade down the hallway. We all passed, and sure enough, he showed up to school with green hair the following week. During class transitions he was out rollerblading down the hall, when he thought it would be funny to mess with a jokester student. So he grabbed him and tried to push him in the girls' bathroom as a joke, and another student trying to help ran up behind them and shut the door. The tip of my teacher's pinky finger was near the hinges, and it was sliced off. Blood was everywhere and the tip of his finger was just lying there in the floor. To make matters worse, they sent the severed finger to the wrong hospital, but he had good spirits when he came back, even naming the finger Quasimodo. I was willing to take the green hair and rollerblading as memorable. The pinky bit was unexpected. With no warning at all, a girl in my class threw up a stomach full of blood all over her desk and books. The teacher went pale and stared at her. She just softly said sorry. The teacher just pointed to the door and just said go to the nurse. Then pointed to the girl next to her and said you go with her. I don't remember what was wrong with her, but she ended up missing about 2 months of school after that. She recovered and is fine now. I love that throwing up blood gets the same reaction as a nosebleed. A freshman kid at our high school has been collecting pictures of naked buttholes from students. So far he has 37. He got them from other people or getting them himself. The only reason I found out was because the dude was sitting at a table I was at and had placed his phone flat on the table. He then proceeded to open up his private pictures and snap. What the frick is with collecting butthole pictures? This is the first time I've heard of this hobby. The in-school suspension supervisor got fired and may be arrested for having sex with one of the students. She was 15. Who hires a 15-year-old as a supervisor? In PE, a girl pulled my pants down while I was playing volleyball as the only guy with a bunch of girls. She meant to just get my shorts but accidentally got underwear too, so at least 10 girls saw my butt and or dong. We had a guy who was on crutches and standing in study hall. Someone pantsed him, boxers and all, and obviously he couldn't pull them up himself or walk somewhere to sit down, so he just stood there, dong out, until the female teacher came to pull them up for him. A kid was found dead by his mom. He'd skipped school and hung himself in his closet. By all accounts he was a healthy, happy teenager with lots of friends and no one could say that they saw this coming. There was a memorial assembly at school and speeches about suicide awareness and all that. I only knew him by name, but I think for everyone it was a reality check since we were all so blindsided by it. A few days later, mom confesses she didn't come home and find that he'd committed suicide. Well, sorta. What had actually happened was he discovered autoerotic asphyxiation and died accidentally. As is frequently the case, when mom discovered his body that morning, she dressed him and cleaned up the scene so as to hide why he died. After a few days, she realized that this lie was too much and she revealed the truth. As a result, we all had to take a mini class on the dangers of autoerotic asphyxiation, which was a very bizarre thing for a 14-year-old to learn about. Alluring South African physics teacher was caught getting oral sex from Australian biology teacher. Both female. SAR teacher was pregnant at the time. Another school in our district had an orgy and filmed it in the school bathroom. I put quotations around that because it was like 7 guys to 2 girls. Worst part was that they were barefoot in the men's bathroom. Almost threw up seeing that. I believe a gender imbalance of that magnitude makes it a gangbang. Computer teacher opened whitehouse.com on the projector during a follow-along class. This was in the late 90s when that site was P-based. I mean the regular White House was pretty P-based in the 90s too. So this didn't actually happen at high school, but it is still relevant. About 2 weeks before we graduated, I decided to throw a field party on a farm as a graduation party. I was expecting 30 or 40 people, but lo and behold well over 100 showed up. I wasn't worried about any police or whatever, so we all just had a great time. Drinking way too much and just goofing off. Anyway, there was this one girl that was ostracized from most our graduating class. She had the tendency to make sexual assault claims that were obviously false, as in, saying this guy groped her at ABC's party, but the dude wasn't there or she didn't show either, needlessly starting fights, and had a very grating personality. Whatever. I made it very clear to people that I didn't want her on the property because I didn't want any trouble to start. Well, guess who shows up? That chick. So we were all pretty liquored up and I just told her to have fun and don't cause trouble. Within 15 minutes she had downed way too much booze and was picking fights with several people. I told one of the DDs to take her butt home. All good, right? Wrong. I went and bumped uglies with a friend for a couple hours and came back. The fire's dying down. Only about 30 people are left and most of those were crashing in their cars or in tents. Then I hear a groan at the edge of the woods about 30 feet away. This area was at the back of a field and on 3 sides were woods. Well, frick. I walk over to see, guess who? That girl I thought had gone home hours before. The person that I tasked with taking her home later told me she got violent in the car before they left and made her get out. Anyway, I walk over and this chick is wallowing around in half-rotten leaves and sticks, just freaking out. She has soiled herself in every way imaginable. Vomit, crap, pee, the glorious trifecta. Turns out she had taken a bunch of benzos before coming and then drank, which is a big no-no as it can cause fatal respiratory depression. So me and a friend are wondering how the heck we're going to get her home and she starts accusing me of crapping in her pants while she was passed out. I crap you not. The smell was rancid and made my friend throw up. To wrap it up, I calmed her down, gave her some sweatpants, called a friend I knew would be awake and sober at 4 AM, and paid them to come get her and take her home. That turned what was a fun end to an awesome graduation party into a shitshow. Pun intended. Senior trip, we went to a camp for a few days. It was mostly normal, except for the orgy cabin. There was a set time for it to happen, and guys apparently passed around names on slips of which girls they were claiming. Best part is it got discovered by the principal himself. Not sure what happened to the students involved, but there were memes for the rest of the year with the principal's face pasted on top of Thanos. This is a different kind of NSW. Probably, but once a freshman shat all over a bathroom stall and wrote some other kid's name on the wall to try and frame him, I guess. Well, that kid wasn't even present that day, so the culprit was caught pretty quickly and had to transfer out. The dean had sat all the boys in the school, freshmen and sophomores together and then juniors and seniors together, in our conference room and showed them the stall to try and scare a confession out of them. I guess it worked. I only know this because my husband, BF at the time, was in the conference room and almost got in trouble for this mess because he thought it was hilarious and couldn't stop laughing at the dean's poop presentation. He still, to this day, doesn't know what the poor man expected. To just show a bunch of teenage boys a poopy slideshow? During psychology class, this girl had her phone between her skirt and I guess every time she got a text or something, it would vibrate and she would kinda squirm. It was interesting to watch since I was across from her. Science teacher accidentally brushed a chick's boob a tad when trying to touch her shoulder. She did pretty well in that class without needing to do all the work. Female volleyball coach of men's volleyball. She let us have an end of season party at her place. One of the guys on the team spent the night there and banged her. Guarantee that was her plan to get you guys there all along. A small group of students at my high school was convinced aliens were observing us because a certain cornfield near the football field would have crop circles every year. It was flattened out patches from where kids would sneak off to have sex during football games. 2 of our married gym teachers got caught having sex in the weight room after school. 1 male and 1 female teacher. They weren't married to each other. Yet, 2 employees were caught doing that in the company gym where I used to work. One was named Steele, until she divorced not long after, for some reason. And the joke going around was we should go to the gym and pump Steele. 2002. Teacher was unzipped and giving a lecture. Valedictorian had to tell him that his balls were showing. Bumblebee tuna. Bumblebee tuna. Senior prank gone wrong. Every once in a while the school Olympic-sized pool needed to be chlorine-killed for cleanliness, and it was unusable for a few hours until the chlorine adequately dispersed. This is important. Senior prank time rolls around and a bunch of the seniors decide to buy pickup truckloads of dry ice to dump in the pool to mist up the school. Well, these geniuses accidentally timed it with chlorination schedule of the pool and blanketed the whole school with chlorine gas. It was shut down for a week. Literally NSW. This is by far the funniest one here. 8th grade girl sucked 11th grader's dong in the boys' bathroom. Both got suspended. Then about 2 months later they both got caught having sex in the back stairwell. Both are now expelled. Senior year. Biology IB2. The teacher is kinda chaotic and isn't very structured. Late a lot. It's his first class of the day. Sorta lets us do our work at our pace. So he was late one morning and we were all just sitting and chatting waiting for him. We got on the topic of piercings and one girl said she recently got one of her nipples pierced. We were confused why she only did one, and then she showed us. In class, at her desk she just lifted her shirt and bra to show us her single pierced nipple. It took me a second to realize what just happened. Then me and my buddy high-fived or something IDK. Same thing happened to me once, but not in high school. Me and a buddy bumped into an old high school friend after a night of drinking in the center of downtown. This friend just blurts out, "I got my nipples pierced," and outside in the middle of downtown, just lifts her shirt and bra and shows us her T. Same exact reaction. Hot, cool, hops on bus home. Wait a minute. Not so much in a good way. My senior English teacher decided it'd be a good idea to have us all talk about significant events in our life, or something like that. Not sure of the exact phrasing. Lots and lots of rape, and a few suicide attempts, and a kid finding his dead parents. Basically just 2 days of extremely graphic and emotional descriptions of the worst things that ever happened to a class of 20 teenagers. On the bright side, the teacher convinced one of the rape victims to identify the person who did it, and he's still in jail. The teacher clarified after the first two that he didn't expect it to be so negative, but we just kinda kept going with that trend. A few people didn't present, and that was okay too. Where the heck did you study, man? A girl committed suicide by hanging herself in our gym from the bleachers. Not sure what time she did that, but it was the biggest news that circulated the school. Anna Karenina was removed from our curriculum for 4 years when a senior jumped in front of the train next to the school. My senior year, a girl accused a male teacher of trying to coerce her into giving him nude pictures. According to her story, he had held her behind class and told her if she didn't he was going to fail her and that she wouldn't graduate on time. The teacher was fired instantly, but it was never taken to criminal or civil court. The vast majority of my graduating class did not believe the girl because she was known for spreading false rumors. Her story gradually changed the more people asked her about it, and the teacher was actually well liked by the majority of the students. Was the teacher brought back? Did she get punished in any way? Girl literally got fricked through a locker room wall when she tried to take on the whole hockey team at once. And I'm not talking glory hole style. It was more like Kool-Aid Man. Oh yeah. A sophomore shot himself and his mom ran into the high school screaming after finding him, trying to find her daughter to break the news. The school resource officer stopped her in the foyer, but we could see everything from the cafeteria. She was covered in blood. Freaking brutal. Imagine the mother in total shock, covered in blood. A kid was caught jerking it to videos of penguins during biology class. He was then banned from using the school computers and wearing sweatpants. 2 of my classmates, a hot girl and an ugly dude, with a big dong so I've heard, go into the school bathroom and frick. Somehow a picture of it is leaked in the Facebook class group chat. The dude left our class right after that. When I was a senior, there was someone who was crapping in brown paper bags and leaving them in the stairwells on the landings. My high school at the time had around 5,000 students, so the stairs were always huge clusterfucks, and now you have a bunch of people stepping on human crap and tracking that all over on their shoes. The school tried to figure it out by having teachers stand in the staircases, but the person doing it started going out in the middle of class to deposit his brown bag turd, and it started driving the admins crazy. Eventually he was caught. Turns out it was a junior year kid who was on the football team and he was expelled. Back in the late 1970s, we had an inter-school streaking league. 5 different high schools in the area fielded teams of streakers and awarded points for number of participants, number of minutes for the streak, and style points for location, silliness, playfulness, and general audacity, subtracting points for number of arrests. The scores were published weekly in the school newspapers. My high school won handily. For one streak, about 15 of us started at the school, a block to the local Lions restaurant, and streaked inside between the front and back entrances, waited at the corner of the main street through town for the light to change, crossed the street and streaked through the Wendy's, and then retraced our steps. Another had us streaking the local police department. One of our team members was the night desk sergeant's daughter, so we had inside help. The league went on for about 6 weeks until the school district put pressure on the principals to shut it down. But for at least a couple years after, our school's trophy case held an unmarked running trophy with a strategically placed fig leaf on the runner. The frick? A girl, 13-15, sent a Snapchat out to several people of her naked with only images covering her. We were on a class trip and they locked us all in our rooms until the staff and police sorted it out. We were reciting our own poetry for our 11th grade English class. Most of it was just floofy bulls. However, a jock in class got up and began reciting his poem. It started off slow, but it became clearer and clearer that he was talking about how he would go back in time and deflower our English teacher. He kept glancing back and forth between the teacher and the paper in his hands, ignoring the class entirely. Every face in the room was bright red. The teacher was a deep red and was crying with uncomfortable laughter. I will never forget the final line. Something like, "Until I flood your eager, quivering crevices with my genetic riches." The dude was not that bright, so I am pretty sure the only thing he spent the night with was a thesaurus. Referring to sperm as genetic riches is actually genius. I'm a childhood expat who went back to rural Illinois at the age of 14. I witnessed some shenanigans there. One time, we were all sitting around a bonfire, and a girl in the group decided to put on a show with a cigarette. She masturbated with a cigarette in front of everyone. She then took it one step further. She used an empty whiskey bottle to masturbate in front of us. None of us knew what to say or do in response to that, so we just let her do her thing. I think we all just felt bad for her. That was the part that was most memorable for me. I'm trying to imagine masturbation with a cigarette and it just ain't adding up. We were on a field trip to an amusement park for marching band. A bus from an all-boys Catholic middle school pulled up beside ours. My friend dared me to flash my boobs and I wasn't one to back down from a dare, so I waited until most of the boys were looking away. Only one nerdy little boy was looking in our direction, so I did it. His mouth dropped wide open with surprise as he quickly motioned for the other boys to come have a look. They moved so quickly from one side of the bus to the other that I actually thought it might tip over. Seriously, the whole bus rocked to one side, but they were too late. TLDR. Flashed a nerdy middle schooler and almost tipped over a school bus. God was on his side that day. My physics teacher was an odd duck. Zany and eccentric like a lot of science teachers, but also overtly racist. 2 occurrences I remember well. First, during a class project, he pointed at a Thai girl, Vietnamese guy, and Cambodian guy, and said, "Alright, all these Chinese kids in one group." There was a shocked silence, but nothing really came of it. Second one was while studying the concept of tension. He used a hanging example, and asked the only black kid in the whole class his weight, to be used as the example for us to measure the amount of tension that would be in the rope if he were to be hanged. The black kid was also the assistant principal's adopted son, which he must have known, and he got fired. There was a full-time math teacher at my high school that subbed for our calculus class one day. He was talking about a graph and I believe trying to say bigger and negative at the same time. He ended up with an amalgamation of those words that had everyone in the class was shocked and uncomfortably quiet, looking around the room to check with the black students. The very first time I had sex, the condom broke, and after the deed was done, my girlfriend was standing next to the bed stuffing 2 fingers inside of her as far as she could to try and scoop CM out of herself. It was terrifying at the time. Hilarious mental picture now. Holy crap, that's a rough first time. Someone suction cupped a giant rubber dragon dildo to the wall above the senior lockers. No one could get it down for weeks. It had its own social media account. Shows dedication to the prank. These things ain't cheap. In freshman year, a girl airdropped her friend's nudes to every single person at our school. Yet, that turned into quite the event after. The girl who sent out the nudes was expelled and had to register as a sex offender. The girl who the nudes were off stage at my school, she got a little bit of flack, but no one really talks about it now. In NL we have a fried snack called a fricandle. It's basically a floppy stick of meat, like maybe 15 cm, that you keep frozen until you deep fry it. One of the girls in my school, allegedly, used one of these frozen sticks to do her thing. Well, the thing is that fricandles that are not yet fried are very soft, so when the frozen fricandle got inside her, it warmed up and defrosted. Because not fried fricandle is soft, it broke off inside her. She had to go to hospital to get the piece of meat removed. This is a fairly common rumor that goes around in schools. When I was in public school, it was the unpopular girl and a hot dog. It definitely wasn't true at my school. Might have been at yours. Who knows? Scoops girl. Apparently she took pics of herself with an ice cream scoop in her vajayjay and it got circulated. Then an ice cream place opened in town called Scoop Me. I like to think they were related. She was a part of the marketing department. Guy on the football team would bust into the locker room and demonstrate that he could tie his flaccid penis into a knot. He went on to play in the NFL. What was his name? A senior girl, also a well-known lacrosse player and all-around snarky bee, had a sexual rendezvous with a freshman football player from the same high school at the local park and ride one morning. By lunch, word had gotten around the whole school. When they walked into the cafeteria, the whole crowd erupted in applause and cheering. From that day forward, she was known as Park and Ride, and the guy faded into obscurity. If this was worded any differently, I bet someone would post this on our Thathapend. During a school dance, the one girl with notoriously large breasts, like unreasonably so, was dancing to Cotton Eye Joe, and her shirt finally gave up and her ginormous breasts popped out. I was one of the many guys that witnessed it. It was glorious. It's all thanks to Cotton Eye Joe. I saw titties a long time ago. They were so big with no room to grow. Thank God for that shirt and Cotton Eye Joe. Getting off in the back of the biology lab. I would meet my husband in biology in college. Maybe it's something about science. Or the thrill of the possibility of getting caught. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.